in politics, if you don't enjoy politics, you cannot do it. Not only you have to enjoy, your spouse have to enjoy as well. So I enjoy politics. I had a job. I had a very good job. But I left that job because I had a passion for politics. And that's why I came, to politics. Well, before coming to Canada, Joseph, I was in Fiji Islands. I was a professor at the University of the South Pacific at the Fiji Island. And before that, I was in Iran, my country of birth. So in Iran, I was a business executive, and also I worked in the university as a professor, as an administrator. And before that, I was in England as a student. And before that, I was in Iran. So, yeah, I have lived in 4 countries, and I have traveled, by the way, to more than 50 countries around the world. I have spoken at least in 40 international scientific conferences. I have traveled to China many times. My first trip to China was in 1983, and then my last trip to China was just a year ago. So I had the honor of welcoming the former president of China, Hu Jintao, at the Toronto Airport on behalf of the Premier when he came to Ontario for the G20 summit or G7 summit a few years ago. I have 4 university degrees in terms of education. I have 1 bachelor's degree and 2 master's degree and 1 doctorate. I also have 1 honorary doctorate. So I can say I have 5 degrees. One of them is honorary. I have 1 honorary doctorate as well.
People say that science changed the world, right? Like Apple, like WeChat.
It is.
And what politics can change for people in Ontario?
Well, politics is the management of our society. In democratic society, like Canada, like Ontario, our country, our province is our bigger home. We have to help to manage our home. The same as we do in our own home. In our homes, somebody cooks, somebody cleans, somebody puts the garbage in the outside, somebody do the shopping. Everybody at the home, they do a bit of work, and then we manage the affairs of our home. We all do that in our home. In our country, in our province, we have to do the same. We have to get together and manage the affairs of this province, right? So the simplest thing, or the easiest thing, which everybody has to do, is to go out and vote. That's all every person should do. Go out and vote. This is the first duty. The most, if you can, then become a candidate to the office. Become a candidate, and if you get elected, then you are going to make decisions on behalf of everyone how you're going to manage our bigger home. And of course, in between, there are other things you can do. And one of the things at this table, you are doing exactly that. As a media, today you are here to hear from me as a candidate so that you can deliver the message to your audience, your people of Ontario, your readers, saying, look, this is what Reza is saying, this is what Reza has done in the past, this is who Reza is in terms of his experience, in terms of his knowledge, in terms of his service to our province in the past 11 years, and this is the other people. So people will make their decision. So you are also helping in that process, and I'm so grateful to every one of you for being here. Yesterday I announced at Monshang Foundation, a long-term care facility in Richmond Hill, that our government is investing in creation of 30,000 long-term beds for our seniors in the next 10 years. And we are redeveloping the existing 30,000 long-term care beds, which we do have now, but they need redevelopment, renovation, etc. So we are renovating them, the existing ones, and we are going to build another 30,000 in the next 10 years. So in order to do that, the first 5,000 beds already been committed in our current budget. So if you get re-elected, we will go with that, 5,000 beds will be built, will be created across the province of Ontario. And from this 5,000 beds, 630 of them will come to York Region.
You know that we have 3 levels of government, right? So what's your relationship between municipal and the federal for Richmond?
Well, we are working very closely with our federal partners as well as our municipal partners. In various projects, for example, on the transit projects, the federal government is assisting us, the city of Toronto is assisting us. Speaking of young subway to Richmond Hill, for example, 4 governments are involved in that project. The city of Toronto, because subway passes the city of Toronto from Finch Station up to Steeles, the city of Toronto. And then from Steeles up to Highway 7, it is York Region. So these 2 municipal governments, plus the federal government and provincial government. So we are working very closely with other governments.
Canada is a diverse society, right? Did you get involved with diversity during your role as MPP?
Well, I have been, as you know, Joseph, I have been very close to the Chinese community. In the past 11 years, I have been elected to this office, and I have so many friends within media, within the general public, among the Chinese community, and as such, that I have been honored with the Chinese name. As you know, my Chinese name, most of you, almost everyone knows my Chinese name, Mo Wei Li, or in Cantonese, Mok Wei Li. And I read about China even when I was in high school, about the history of China, about revolutions, and I knew quite a bit about Dr. Sun Yat-sen. In Nanjing, I went to his mausoleum to see where he was buried. I've read quite a bit, and I know. I asked a question from some people in an event. I said, this was a technology event, computer event. I said, do you know who invented the first computer and where that first computer was invented? And the people looked at each other. And I said, I tell you where. I said, I tell you where and who did it. I said, the first computer was invented by Chinese 1,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago. And they all looked at me. I said, do you know abacus? And they said, yes. That was the first computer built by human beings. Mechanical computer. It was a computer because that's computations, right? Yeah. So there's so many things about when you go back to the history of China in terms of science, technology, arts, and economy, so on and so forth. So anyway, back to your question. Yes, I have a close relationship with almost every community present in Richmond Hill. Of course, Chinese community is the largest community, but there's South Asian community, there are Jewish community, there are Italian community, there are Filipino community, there are Armenian community, Iranian community, and various, yes, a lot. And Richmond Hill is considered to be the second most diverse city in Ontario after Toronto.